Everything cool, Skrilla? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But he had that spine issue. But of course, you have Jokic. You have Jokic doing this thing, of course, and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray is getting back into the fold. Skrilla. He getting back into the fold, man. Skrilla. But not crazy about sports. I try to teach him something every now and then. He knows something though. He knows something, a little something. But man, the Nuggets, man, and stay tuned. I'm gonna talk some NFL. Damn Cowboys, those chumps. But your boy, Michael Porter Jr., man, if he can stay healthy, the Nuggets with Jamal Murray getting back into the fold, the Nuggets can be a problem. It's so many teams. I'm talking about on both. It's so competitive in both conferences right now. Both conferences. Real quick before I move on to some football. NBA standings. It's so competitive right now. The Bucks, Celtics in the Eastern Conference. Cavaliers, of course, like I was saying, at number 3 with that young core they have. They're 7-3 in their last 10. The Bucks are 7-3 in their last 10 games. Celtics are 5-5 in their last 10. The Nets are 9-1 in their last 10 games. Have moved to 19-12. So I'm sure a lot of Brooklyn Nets fans love that, as well as the Knicks right there. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, 17-13. Now they're finally starting to play some defense. Have a nice young nucleus out there with R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle. He continues to ball. And so I like the pieces that they've put together out there. And again, Thibodeau has those guys playing some defense. And you know that's his calling card is on the defense side of the ball. So now they're starting to play some defense. The 76ers, 7-3 in their last. They're sitting at number 5 right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. As much as I love Joel Embiid, I said when I saw him in Kansas, the next Akeem Olajuwon. I mean, the moves that he has, even at that time, he was a tad bit slider at that bit in time too. So just imagine how smooth he was and how swift he was. But I said that's the next Akeem Olajuwon right there. And I don't say that lightly because Akeem Olajuwon is the best college center I've ever seen in my life when he played at the University of Houston. Top 2 centers I've ever seen in college, Akeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal. Hands down. Akeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal. I think Joel Embiid could have been that guy if he wouldn't have hurt his back and maybe if he would have played a couple of years at Kansas. But he would have been the number 1 pick. But I remember watching him at that time. I said, that's the next Akeem Olajuwon right there. Then he hurt his back before him and Andrew Wiggins were freshmen on that team. But he hurt his back right before the NCAA tournament, and that derailed him for the tournament, of course, and it dropped him in the draft. Andrew Wiggins ended up getting picked first. But the 76ers, even though they have James Harden back, who over the last 4 games, he's total like 59 assists over the last 4 games. So he's getting the job done as a playmaker, and he gives you that scoring punch more times than not at the rate, at the clip that he used to, but when you have Joel Embiid right there, now you're playing with a superstar center. You don't have to be that guy that you was in Houston where you're dominating the basketball and taking the majority of the shots. Plus, he just doesn't have the first step that he used to on a consistent basis. He can still light it up from time to time, but it's in a different manner. He's not getting to the free throw line like he once did. He's not getting the calls that he once did, even though he's always been known to embellish his calls and things of that sort. Now those refs are not bailing him out as much. But I just don't believe in the 76ers. I just do not believe in them as far as being a championship contender. The Heat, they're going to be feisty. Little Pat Riley-led team, of course. Eric Spoelstra, they're going to be feisty. I like the competitive spirit of Jimmy Butler and some of the guys. Tyler Hero, he can light it up from time to time. But no. Bam Adebayo. So anyone that wants to sit up there and say the Miami Heat are a championship contender, you can go and continue to fool yourself if you want. No, they're not. The Miami Heat are not champions. I don't care how good Spoelstra is. Jimmy Butler's a nice player. Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero. No. The Miami Heat will not beat the Bucks, Celtics, nor the Nets, in my opinion. And I don't even think the Nets are better than the Bucks and the Celtics. The Hawks, Still a disappointment. Sitting at 16 and 15. But if you really look at the Eastern Conference, though, a lot of these teams, I mean, even though the Hawks are sitting at number 8, they're only 6.5 games behind number 1. I mean, everything is so tight right now. Things are kind of spread out as the weeks progress. Let me see here. Western Conference real quick before I move on. Grizzlies sitting in the top, 19 and 10, 8-2 in their last 10 games. Ja Morant, I mean, they're on a 7-game winning streak. Snapped in OKC after the Ja Morant ejection. But again, 8-2 in their last 10 games, you know they're going to be right there. You know, Ja's going to have those guys playing at a high level. Hopefully he can stay healthy, and they can really put the team out there when they get Desmond Bane back, and they can really put the team out there. I think the Grizzlies have a chance, just as good a chance as anyone. Not really believing in the Warriors as much right now. I can't come in here and, the Warrior. I mean, Steph will be back. He's going to be healthy. But I'm kind of concerned about the Warriors' depth. Some of these young guys are not taking off like I thought they would, but I think Wiseman is back up now playing. I think maybe he's learned a thing or two. Maybe he reaches his potential and gives them what they need the remainder of the season. Clay continues to get healthy. And, I mean, you still have Draymond Green. Wiggins hasn't been playing. He's been injured, so he's going to come back. We all forget about Andrew Wiggins when we talk about what the Warriors have not had and he's been out for a while. And you know he was an all-star last year for his defense and what he can bring you on the offensive side of the ball. So let's not forget about how important Andrew Wiggins was in that championship run last year. So when we talk about the Golden State Warriors and their chances to repeat, we're always talking about Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Is Klay going to get back to the Klay that we all know and all this and that? You know Klay is going to have his games where he can light it up. Now, we're waiting to see him get back to that on a consistent basis. But we seem to forget Jordan Poole, who put up 43 the other day. Yes, sir. My man. Yes, sir. That's what's up, Skrillerilla. Appreciate you, my man. But Jordan Poole put up 43 the other day, and he can light it up at any time too. But we always seem to forget about Andrew Wiggins and what he brings to that team. That's a very important piece of that team. But I'll let the season play out before I'm not going to count him out either. Steph is just getting some rest right now. That shoulder's going to heal up, left shoulder. His legs are going to be fresh. This is probably a good thing for Steph. Miss some time. You know he's a fierce hard worker, so you know he's going to keep himself in shape. That shoulder will be just fine when he gets back. Of course, people are going to be swiping at it. Steph is a strong, smart, savvy young man, and I mean strong mentally and physically. You remember when Steph first got into the league, how wiry he was? Babyface Steph, you could push him around and all this and that. Steph started hitting that weight room. Now you see Steph out there. Steph is banging. Has never been scared of contact, but Steph could stand up to the best of them now because of his tireless work in the weight room. And, of course, he's grown into his man body. But I think Steph is going to get healthy. I think Steph is going to get a lot of rest. His legs are going to be fresh. You know how they like to run him off screens and run him around. You know how hard he competes. So I actually think this time off is going to benefit him, and it may benefit the Warriors in the long run because I think it'll give them time to really find out what you have in these young guys. Kuminga needs to become more. He has too much talent. He needs to become way more consistent. He needs to be the guy that they can count on. Okay, you're the next young superstar. But you have to bring it night in and night out, man. You have to quit making these dumb mistakes, dumb fouls, play within yourself, and let your talent take over. But they need to get more out of him on a consistent basis. Speaking of Golden State, they really do. And so I'm not going to count them out. But the Grizzlies, again, are right there. The Nuggets, the Pelicans, we'll see. Of course, I'm saying all that about the Pelicans. They don't really have the playoff experience that some of these teams like the Grizzlies, the Warriors, the Nuggets. But there's some players that's been there other than Zion. But Zion only know one way, and that's attack. So he's going to be Zion regardless of him being in the playoffs. He's going to be the little monster. But like I said, with the Bucks last night, You have a big team like that. You face a big team like that. Zion is only 6'6", as explosive as he is. But I still think the Pelicans are going to be a force to be reckoned with because they're deep too, and so they can really throw a lot of people at you, and they play hard and they're well coached. And the Suns, as a matter of fact, Robert Sarver today finalizing a deal where he's going to sell the Suns for $4 billion. For $4 billion. Wow. Think about that. $4 billion. That's what it is for a team like the Phoenix Suns who's never won a championship. I mean, as great as the Suns have been, you never really hear me talking about them as far as championship contenders. Kudos to Chris Paul getting his degree. Kudos to Chris Paul going back to Winston-Salem, getting his degree. Congratulations to him for that. Job well done. Great player, great guy from all accounts. Great leader. But the Phoenix Suns have never been a team, and that's going all the way back. I guess that's going all the way back to when the Rockets used to beat them down back when Akeem was winning those championships, and when they had Barkley and Marley, they were a fun team to watch. Of course back then, I mean, Barkley was a bad boy. Barkley was one of the best in the league. I mean, he was a dog. MVP, I think, in 93, I think it was. MVP. Phoenix was a great team. Shot a lot of threes, fast break, Kevin Johnson. I mean, very fun to watch. Coached by Paul Westphal. But I just never looked at them as a championship contender since then. I mean, they're gonna be fun to watch, and it's just something about them being soft to me. I mean, I hate to say that because Charles Barkley wasn't soft at all. He was a dog. You know how he was. The mile round the rebound when he was playing at Auburn. I still remember the cover when he had. I still remember the Sports Illustrated that came to the house when he was eating the pizza in the dorm room or whatever. But the round mound, the rebound, he's always been a dog. But it's just something about the Phoenix Suns and their style, dating all the way back to the 90s. Fast break, very fun to watch. But I just never really looked at them even to this day, as a championship contender. And Chris Paul, he's not soft. He's a dog. But it's just something about the Phoenix Suns that when I talk about these championship contenders, no matter what kind of regular season they have, I just never think that they're going to be the team to get to the championship and win it. I just don't. Clippers, who knows? If they're healthy, they can be one of the teams, trust me. I mean, well coached, Tyronn Lue, and they can be, and they can definitely be one of the teams. The Kings are very surprising. De'Aaron Fox is a superstar. I think he put up 37 the other night. Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards. Oh, man, when they get Karl Anthony Towns back to go along with Rudy Gobert and D'Angelo Russell, they can be a problem in the playoffs because Anthony Edwards is a true superstar. Drafted number 1 out of Georgia a couple years ago. Even though he didn't get a lot of publicity at Georgia, they found him. They knew that he was the number 1 pick. And I remember saying to myself, man, I hope they didn't. But when I watched the highlights, I was like, wow. But nah, he's legit. Anthony Edwards is legit. Big body, can get his shot, athletic, can get to the rack, can get to anywhere he want on the floor, can shoot the three. I mean, Anthony Edwards is a dog. The Mavericks, like I said, hey man, Luka needs some help. I mean, he needs some. The Mavericks are too. They're not playing the defense they were playing last year, and they're too dependent on Luka Doncic. Too dependent on him, and they need another superstar for Luka Doncic. And that's, hey man, the Lakers. Anthony Davis hurt again. I'm not gonna sit here before I move on to some football, to some NFL. I'm not going to sit here and dog Anthony Davis. I mean, injuries happen. He's injury prone. Make no mistake about that. He's definitely injury prone. That's for sure. So he was playing so great before that. He was on MVP pace. Don't think it was going to be enough to get even as great as LeBron still is. Still don't think the Lakers have enough to compete for a championship, even with a healthy Anthony Davis and even with Russell Westbrook content in his role of coming off the bench, playing a lot of minutes, being able to do what he does with the second team, being in a good mindset, the chemistry on the team good, Pat Bev. Still don't think the Lakers have enough, even with the healthy Anthony Davis. But he was playing great basketball before that injury to that foot. Now he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. But that's just another reason you can't trust the Lakers, even if he comes back healthy and they make a run. Because you know it's just going to be a matter of time, more than likely, and I hope I'm wrong about this, to where you're starting to believe in the Lakers, and then bam, there goes Anthony Davis. He's out for 2 weeks at a critical juncture of the season. And you just cannot depend on the Lakers because of Anthony Davis. You can't do it. You can't do it. The Rockets, they're in the Rockets and the Spurs. The Rockets, Spurs, and Thunder, they're all in the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. The Rockets were playing better for a while. Then I guess they said, okay, we're supposed to be in the running for Victor Wembanyama, the 7'4" guy from France. Do it all, everything. Next superstar, highest touted prospect since LeBron. I mean, on a LeBron, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming, Lou Alcindor coming out of high school type of recruitment, a type of hoopla, so to speak. But the Rockets and the Spurs, Thunder, they're all going for Victor Wembanyama. Again, I still like the Rockets' young core. Jalen Green, going to be a superstar. Him and KPJ, you can't stop that backcourt right there. Sengun, they just have to get better to continue to evolve. But I was talking about the Lakers and how you can't depend on Anthony Davis, and you really can't depend on the Lakers. And that's the same thing about the Dallas Cowboys. And see, this is why ever since I was a kid, when the damn Dallas Cowboys lost to the San Francisco 49ers, had me coming down the stairs crying. My daddy checking me, talking about, boy, you crying? I'm like, yep. Because I was that mad. That hurt because I thought the Cowboys had that game. Joe Montana, that got the San Francisco 49ers off to their glorious run. That's why the San Francisco 49ers are the San Francisco 49ers right now, as far as history and tradition, and that damn game right there. If it wasn't for what should have been, what actually initiated the horse collar rule. Well, it should have been the horse collar rule back then, for sure, on Drew Pearson, when he caught that pass that I thought the Cowboys were going back down to score on. But I was a serious Cowboy. I'm talking about Tony Dorsett. Going to San Francisco, let Joe Montana come back on you like that with the famous "the catch" to Dwight Clark. I mean, just broke my heart. Lost money that game. But you know what? That was then, this is now. And I'd be damned if you know what I've learned? I told my cousin this, who's a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan as well. I told him this the other day. I said, man, I refuse at this juncture of my life. Now, I'm a Cowboys fan. Make no mistake about it. They win, I'm going to pop my collar. Of course, I'm going to talk the noise about them and all this and that. And, of course, I want them to go on and win the Super Bowl. But it's not like it was in 1981 against Joe Montana, where I'm going to come down the stairs crying or something like that. Because, damn it, I've learned to not let the Dallas Cowboys break my heart. It's the same damn thing every single year since the 90s. Of course, the Aikman, Irvin, and Emmitt Smith years, Jimmy Johnson, they were tremendous. Dion for that one championship. Lassoed him away from the 49ers, the aforementioned 49ers, after he had just won a Super Bowl over there. Speaking of Dion real quick before I go back, Travis Hunter, the defensive back that Dion highly recruited out of Georgia, who I said I'm sure he's going to follow Dion to Colorado. That may just not be the case. He may be going, he's looking at some other teams. Of course, he's from Georgia. He was the most highly touted prospect in the nation the year he came out of high school and decided to sign with Jackson State. So he's like, okay, I played with Prime Time, but I'm not going to Colorado. They say he may end up in Georgia. What a wise move if you end up with the Georgia Bulldogs. He's like, you know what? I think I want to go start cornerback for the damn Georgia Bulldogs, have a chance to win the national championship next year. So he's not automatically going to follow Deion to Colorado and rebuild for a year or two, so to speak, even though they may kind of do some surprising things more quicker than not with Colorado. But of course he's going to have to get the talent in there. And so he may not, it may not be automatic that Deion is able to pry him away from the Georgia Bulldogs. And Georgia's amongst a couple of other teams. Man, he need to put the Buckeyes in the mix right there. Go on out there and start corner out there for the Buckeyes and play a little receiver at the same time like you were doing at Jackson State. But the Dallas Cowboys, they're not going to be a team right now. I mean, ever since the 90s, get to the playoffs or get your hopes up real high and then lose. I mean, man, I've learned not to get too invested or get my heart too caught up with the Cowboys because they're going to find a way to let you down. And I said to myself a number of years ago, as I got older, I said, I can't do it. I can't invest all my stock in the Dallas Cowboys. For one, I'm not on their damn payroll. That's for one. That's the main reason right there. Again, my team, not lying about that. My team, want them to win. Love them. They're my team. But you want to go out there and lay eggs like that and blow leads. Now, people talk this about the Texans game. That didn't really, you know what? That Texans game, as much as the media, when the Cowboys beat the Texans the week before, after just losing to the Jaguars this past weekend, but prior to that, of course, last week they beat the Texans. And everyone talking about how bad the Cowboys look playing the 1-12 Texans. And I know the Texans are 1-12, but the last couple games, for some reason, the Texans have been fun to watch. I mean, they're going to continue to lose their games, but they played. I don't know if teams are just laying down when they come in, but let's get real. Everybody that was saying all this about how bad the Cowboys look, and granted, for the first 3 quarters, they did. And most of the game, even most of the fourth quarter until the last drive, of course. But let's get real. You all know that was the Houston Texans Super Bowl. Playing the Dallas Cowboys is the Super Bowl for the Houston Texans. And I don't care if the Texans were 0-11 going to that game. Without a win and without a tie, they were going to play the Dallas Cowboys like it was the last game of their life, like they were literally in the Super Bowl. And the Cowboys were not looking at it like that. Now, maybe that's on the coaching staff. That's on the players. Not getting enough for the game. But I really didn't put too much stock into that game in the sense I just thought the Cowboys kind of laid down, played down to the level of their competition. They almost let one get away. That's why when that game ended, when they went down on that drive, I was like, just win, baby. Just win. Just win. But, of course, we knew it was the Texans Super Bowl. So I'm listening to all these, everybody, they look terrible against the Texans. The worst team in the league. You really don't understand that unless you're either a Cowboys fan or you live in Houston. You don't understand that. That was the Texans Super Bowl, that game. And the Cowboys, I guess we have to play the Texans. And so that's what happens. And again, the Texans are feisty. They're feisty. But I'm going to tell y'all now, Lovey's gone after this season. So, nothing against Lovey, but he gone. And they're going to start anew with a new coach and maybe a new franchise quarterback, who, again, I think should be Bryce Young. But that's just me. The Wizard. Bryce the Wizard Young, if you're the Houston Texans. But the Cowboys, you think back to when Dak was first signing that contract or when he was negotiating for the contract when he hadn't signed yet, when he was asking for his money. Again, you listen to the Sports Court. I'm Gregory Beatty. And I was saying he's a franchise quarterback, but is he a true, legitimate superstar franchise quarterback? Until you do some things in the playoffs and show me otherwise, I don't care what numbers you have. And I like Dak Prescott as a leader. He's a good quarterback. But he always disappears in games where you need him most. And I know we can talk about what he's done since he's come back from injury and how the Cowboys offense, where they rank in this regard and that regard. He's thrown a lot of interceptions, 10 picks since he's come back. He's thrown them at the most inopportune times. If you look at that game, and I was saying then, he has to show me that he's worth $40 million. If you're a $40 million quarterback, it's games like this. Now, that drive against the Texans, kudos. And there's been situations this season where he hasn't been on par with some of the receivers, doesn't really have any weapons other than C.D. Lamb. Told y'all, don't count on Odell Beckham. They still may sign him, but hopefully he surprises me and he just turns out in the playoffs or something. I don't know, but come on, man. We're not going to get back into that about the knee. I just don't think that knee is ready. 2 reconstructions. I don't want that to be a situation where he fleeces the Dallas Cowboys just like Ed Reed did the Texans, where you know you're damaged goods, but you're going for that one last contract and you're going to tell them anything, and you know Jerry Jones is not going to fall for it. You know Jerry Jones is not going to fall for it. He had that medical team do their due diligence on checking out that knee. But so the Cowboys not going to get fleeced for a last contract if you're damaged goods. But Dak Prescott, man, I mean, like that pass he threw, they looked great in the first half. You build a 17-point lead. I mean, you're doing all the right things. Second half, the defense just let up. Play calling. No weapons on the outside consistently that you can really count on getting any separation from the defenders. So in that regard, you can look at Dak and be like, okay. But he's like that play where he threw the ball. I think they were on their, it was third down and they were on their 8-yard line. Dallas was on their own 8-yard line. And he threw that interception. You got to tuck that ball right there. You can't throw that interception down there, giving Jacksonville the ball inside the red zone right there. Easy points. I understand you're trying to make a play, but you have to be smart right there, realizing where you're on the field, and you just can't make that ill-advised throw right there. Now, that second interception, that was on Noah Brown right there. That was on Noah Brown. You have to make that catch. But this vaunted defense that I keep hearing about, you give up a 27-10 lead to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's playing some great football, by the way. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is starting to look like the number 1 pick that I was raving about ever since his freshman year at Clemson. Y'all have heard me on the show raving about him. Doug Peterson is doing some wonderful things out there in Jacksonville right now. Again, Travis Etienne is almost like I said at the start of the season, you get Travis Etienne back, his college teammate, it's almost like getting a number 1 draft pick because he missed his whole his entire rookie season because of a foot injury. So it's almost like you got a number 1 draft pick to go along with Trayvon Walker from Georgia, the number 1 draft pick on the defensive side of the ball, defensive end, who's starting to come along slowly but surely. They're letting him work through some kinks. He's shown some flashes, shown some talent. But you get Travis Etienne, who rushed for over 100 yards against the Dallas defense. When I hear all this talk about the vaunted Dallas defense, and you've heard me raving about Michael Parsons all the time. But he did have a sack. First sack I think he's had in a few games. That was the only sack of the game for the whole team. You're not stopping the run. Travis Etienne is gashing you. So what do you think other teams are going to try to do? If they see you're soft at the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack, you're going to continue to run the ball. But you hear me talk all this about Michael Parsons, and deservedly so, a tremendous young talent. Love the guy. Love his personality. Love his talent. has a chance to be the best defensive player, one of the best defensive players to ever play the game. 13 sacks this season, gets double teamed a lot, but a buku number of quarterback pressures. So he's always getting after the quarterback, even when he's double teamed. But he has to make more tackles. You have to be more of a force in the run game. And not only more of a force in the run game, but if you're flying around the field in the run game and you're having more than, I think last game, 1 tackle, 1 assisted tackle. Bro, I don't care where they're lining you up on the field. You have to be more disruptive in the run game. And when your teammates see you flying around like that, of course they still need some beef on the defensive line. I mean, because I just don't think they're stout enough on the defensive line to really stop a team that's really dedicated to the run and that it has any semblance of an offensive line where they're going to stay true to who they are and run the ball. Somebody like, say, the Tennessee Titans who played the Texans this week. Of course, Derrick Henry has already ran for over 200 yards 4 straight times against them. Don't have me get on that. But the Cowboys, I mean, that defense, they have to reassess who they are and the identity that they want to have, but they have to get more stout, more tough on the defense side of the ball. Excuse me. But I'm going to tell you right now, Micah Parsons has to be more disruptive on the defensive side of the football, and it rubs off on your teammates when they see you flying around like that on the defensive side of the ball, man. So I don't think he brings the energy in the run game like he does in the pass game. If you see the quarterback drop back, Micah Parsons, he's running like a bat out of hell trying to get to the quarterback, but not necessarily in the run game. And I don't want to say he's loafing, because he's not. I've seen him run down some ball carriers. I've seen him make some hell of a plays in the run game. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you're gonna have 1 solo tackle because you're away from the action most of the time, but you have to be in on more than 1 tackle, whether that's solo or assisted tackle. Now you have Van Der Esch, so it doesn't get any better. You already have the starting cornerback out, so you're having to play Anthony Brown. You have Jordan Lewis out, and you have the other corner out. I mean, you have. So the secondary right now, as far as the cornerback opposite Trayvon Diggs, they have to figure that out. They have to figure that out quick, fast, in a hurry, because teams are going to really take note, and they're going to go after Kelvin Joseph. That's who they have over there playing corner. Anthony Brown, I think, and Jordan Lewis are both out for the season with injuries. But they're going to go after Kelvin Joseph, man. And so you better find a way. Dan Quinn better find the formula to get this team, because you can't let an upstart Jacksonville Jaguars team, if you're talking about being a championship contender, again, I'm not putting too much stock in the Texans game. I guess I should, maybe because the way the letdown was against the Jacksonville Jaguars as far as on the defensive side of the ball. But we'll see what happens this week. The Cowboys are still in the playoffs, but they're going to have to do it the hard way. And when they get to the playoffs, first of all, they have to handle business coming up against Philadelphia. Now, speaking of Micah Parsons, and as great as he is, and again, he needs to be more dominant. You have Van Der Esch out with a neck injury, and man, he's had a lot of neck injuries. Every time I see him on the field making a tackle, I say to myself, hope that neck is okay. He's been having a damn good season, as a matter of fact. A damn good season. Now he's out with an injury. You get Tyron Smith back, but that was addition by subtraction, because you lose Big Terrence Steele, who's having a great season at tackle. So that's addition by subtraction. Even though you have Tyler Smith, the first-round draft pick, who's still in the fold, but you want to be able to get Tyron Smith back to go along with Steele in the first-round draft pick. Of course, that didn't happen. That's football. But Tyron Smith is back, so that's good. So they have to stay committed to the run game. But they just fumbled that game away in the second half. and you had an opportunity to put Jacksonville away. You didn't put your foot on the gas. You didn't put your foot on their throat, and you gave a chance for an upstart team who has a chance to win their division now, chasing Tennessee. Now they've gained even more confidence, able to come back on that pick six to end that game in overtime against Dak Prescott. But if you're Dak Prescott, you have to find a way to put your team, to get your team headed back in the right direction. Quick, fast, in a hurry, coming up against Philadelphia. Now, those comments that Micah Parsons made about Jalen Hurts and about how Jalen Hurts, how he's not sure. And, hey, I'm all for somebody saying what's on their mind and having their own opinion about things. But is it Jalen Hurts or is it the system? I'm not going to say it's a dumb comment. I don't think it was a dumb comment. Again, he's entitled to his opinion. But Jalen Hurts has not been throwing the ball to himself. If you look at every championship team, we're talking about Jalen Hurts, who may not play this week because of a sprained shoulder. And if I'm Philadelphia, I would hold him out, to tell you the truth. I don't care about improving anything to Michael Parsons or anything like that. If you're Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts does not play this game with the sprained right shoulder, his throwing shoulder. Now, I know he's been in the MVP running, maybe the leading candidate, along with some other players, Patrick Mahomes. Speaking of Patrick Mahomes, who I talked about how the Cowboys played against the Texans this past week. You see what the Chiefs went in there. Oh, it's the Texans. And then they did what they had to do to win the game in overtime as well. But they went in there, even though Patrick Mahomes only missed like on 4 completions, but they went in there and almost laid the egg to the Texans. Texans playing the game. Oh, it's the Chiefs. And they competed the last couple of games, the Texans. But teams are not going in there really high about playing the Texans because where they are. But where was I at right there? But Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs. Let's see, the Chiefs, the Texans. Where was I at right there, Skrilla? I know I was talking some Texans. Somebody help me out right there. Somebody help me out right here. Nah, I'm gonna get where I was right there. But but I say all that to say, the Jacksonville Jaguars just came back to me. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who may have a chance to win that division, and of course, again, I mentioned how of course, rushing for 200 yards with yada yada with Tennessee with against the Texans and Patrick Mahomes with but Jalen Hurts, if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't play him. I mean, you're talking about a sprained right shoulder. You're talking about a sprained right shoulder with a quarterback who's in the running for the MVP. Now, the fact that he's in the running for the MVP, that's where I was getting at. If he feels, and he's a smart enough guy to realize, hey man, if that's gonna stop you from winning MVP, if you miss one game or whatever it takes, maybe it just wasn't meant for you to win the MVP this season. But because ultimately it's about the Super Bowl anyway, and the ultimate goal is to win a championship, help your team win a championship. But Michael Parsons' comments about is it Jalen Hurts or the system, it could be both. It's definitely Jalen Hurts. He's not throwing the ball to himself. Every championship team that I've known going back, I was talking about Joe Montana and the great teams that he had. I talked about the first year they won it with Dwight Clark and Freddie Solomon. But then after that, look at Jerry Rice, John Taylor, Roger Craig in the backfield, Tom Rathman, all pros on the offensive line, all pros on the defensive side, Charles Haley. I mean, you look at before that, Fred Dean. I mean, so hey man, I'm telling you, it's a situation where Jalen Hurts, you go in there and you actually let your shoulder heal. Could care less about what Michael Parsons says. And your team with Gardner Minshew could probably steal beat the Dallas Cowboys the way the Cowboys have played on the defensive side of the ball the last couple games with teams moving the ball up and down the field on them. If you think about it. But Jalen Hurts, any team you look at has had superstar players on their team. Jalen Hurts is actually running the ball. He's the one using his legs, making those plays. Ran for 3 touchdowns last week. He's the one utilizing his legs, making those plays with his legs. Now, is it the system as far as having certain lanes to run through? Great offensive line. Again, I just named you a team that had all of that. They had all of that. And that's just one team. Every championship team I've known has always had superstar players around their quarterback. So, say what you will about Jalen Hurts. He's playing at a high level. He's dropping dimes in there. He's dropping dimes. Bing, bing, bing. And that's what he's doing, man. So Jalen Hurts is balling. But if I'm Jalen Hurts, I sit it out this upcoming week against the Cowboys, and you come back strong. Get that shoulder back healthy. Get that shoulder back healthy and see what happens. Let me look at a couple of these NFL scores.
Yesterday, the Rams lost to the Packers 24-12. Last Sunday, the Giants beat the Commanders 20-12. The Titans lost to the Chargers 17-14.
I'm gonna tell y'all, team. The Bengals. Oh man, the Bengals. 34-23 over the Buccaneers. Bengals are what, 10-4 right now? The Bengals look like they may be the team to beat in the AFC. I still can't count out the of course, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, man, just what they're able to do. But the Bengals with Joe Burrow, and I talked about it last week. I mean, there's nothing too much more to be said about the Bengals other than the fact that they're on fire right now. And of course, you know they have Jamar Chase on one side, T. Higgins on one side, and they're just playing at a very, very high level. Joe Burrow, healthy. Of course, if you remember coming into the season, he had surgery, appendix surgery. So he got out to a slow start because he didn't have a preseason to really get to really draw from. So once he hit his stride, But going back to the Cowboys, the Jaguars beat the Cowboys, of course, 40-34 in overtime. The Cowboys, again, had a 27-10 lead, of course. My Chargers, 17-14 over the Titans. Again, the Titans, they're dropping back to the pack with Jacksonville. Jacksonville is only one game behind them right now. And again, we talk about all the weaponry that Jacksonville is putting around Trevor Lawrence now. So some of those receivers are starting to come on. And actually the Titans are going in a different direction. But they're going to run the ball with Derrick Henry, and they're going to try to control the clock. But the Chargers, keeping their playoff hopes alive, 17-14, they're getting healthy. Maybe they can get healthy at the right time with Justin Herbert, and they can really make some noise because of all the talent they have on the team. You get Derwin James back. You get these guys all the way back healthy, and the Chargers could be a team that can be a sleeper in the playoffs, a sleeper team. You get in there, you win a playoff game, get your confidence sky high, then the next thing you know, bam, here you are vying for a championship. Again, the playoffs is a whole different season. That's why I say that about the Buckeyes. It's a tired different season. But let's see. Giants beat the Commanders 20-12, vying for a playoff spot right there, even though the Commanders was on the back end of some bad calls. Hey, but that's what happens. So kudos to the Giants for getting it done. A win is a win is a win. Packers won last night, 24-12 over the Rams. Aaron Rodgers is still hopeful that they'll make a playoff push. Not happening. Not this season for the Packers. I don't think so. If they win out, you never know, though. I talked about the Eagles beating the Bears 25-20. And Justin Fields is playing some good football right now. And he's playing some good football, and they're still losing. So they're still going to get a high draft pick, still get somebody to help out with him. And I like Justin Fields. I like what I've seen from him because when he got hurt a couple of weeks ago, and he's running the ball all over the yard. I mean, he's approaching 1,000 yards rushing, but he's throwing the ball. He's being more efficient, reading coverages more, taking shots when he needs to take the shots. But he's the franchise quarterback, hands down. Best quarterback in that draft. Well, Trevor Lawrence is playing. They both are showing why they were the number one, and Justin Fields should have been the number 2 pick in that draft. And I said that at the time. And wouldn't have been mad if he was number 1, but I said Trevor Lawrence was definitely number 1. But the Eagles won that game. Jalen Hurts found a way to get it done when it mattered most, utilizing his legs, utilizing his athletic ability, utilizing his leadership, Michael Parsons, and all that to go along with the talent around him. They were able to get it done 25-20. But again, I go back to Justin Fields. When Justin Fields got hurt earlier in the season, it was I said to myself, maybe he should sit out. He's proven that he's the franchise quarterback. But I like his competitive spirit. I like the way he said, no, I want to finish out the season. I don't have to wait on an offensive line to get better. I'm going to be in here where these guys can grow and get better with me. We all can get better together. Then we add what we add in the draft or through free agency. But he wants his team to really believe in him. And I thought it was some great leadership that he's shown, some great competitiveness as well, because he could have melded in for the season saying, okay, this team is going to get a high draft pick. I proved that I'm the number 1 guy. But no, as soon as he's able, even when he's nicked up, he was nicked up in the last game against the Eagles, a leg in the 4th quarter, came back into that game. So I like the competitive spirit and the competitive nature of Justin Fields. I like what he's able to do as far as getting his teammates to believe that he's the guy that's going to go to war with them. And he's not quitting on them. Even though they're not having the tremendous team success right now, he's showing them that he's their leader. And he's with them through thick and thin. And he's there to grow with them. And I like that about Justin Fields. Again, that shows some real, true leadership on his part. Fight through injuries, continue to play, not blaming his teammates, not saying, oh, I don't have an offensive line to block for me. Just going out there balling. Just going out there, putting it all on the line, balling. Of course, this past weekend, the 49ers, Brock Purdy did his thing, 21-13 over the Seahawks. Man, I hate that for Jeff Saturday. Hey, my boy Jeff Saturday did not have a good Saturday. I tell you that because the worst comeback in NFL history, 33-point lead, the Vikings come back and win 39-36. Man, I mean, if you beat the Vikings right there, I know I said it after, and I don't know Jeff Saturday's status. I don't know if he wants to continue coaching. I'm rooting for the guy, but there's a couple of games that should have probably beaten the Eagles, had a 33-point lead this game. If you're ownership, what do you take out of that? The fact that you had a 33-point lead against, and you know Irsay is going to do what he wants to do anyway. He may just go against the grain just to go against the grain. But is he still saying, okay, the fact that you built a 33-point lead, again, now they did lose Jonathan Taylor, who's out for the season. So they were not able to continue to run the ball in certain situations that probably could have held the Vikings at bay, even though the Vikings got hot in that second half. But losing Jonathan Taylor did hurt. The Colts had a 33-point lead. I mean, giving up a 33-point lead, the worst in NFL history. Again, not a great Saturday for my boy Jeff Saturday right there. But if you're ownership, do you look at that as we had a 33-point lead against a 10-3 team at the time? We should have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles. I know shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know, I mean, I get it. But should have beaten the Eagles. Probably could have beaten the Eagles. I mean, he could be sitting easily right now. Won the first game. I mean, so Jeff Saturday may just be the guy, even though with that meltdown, ownership may still be looking at him as the guy. Now, does he want to call? I mean, I don't know if he's having fun doing it or whatever, but to build a 33-point lead is impressive, but to lose it is even that more telling too. But, hey, things happen. But he still may be the guy for that team, though. The Browns beat the Ravens. Of course, Lamar Jackson is still not back. The Bills and the Vikings. I mean, and the Vikings, I mean, Kirk Cousins is playing well. Can't knock Kirk Cousins. When they play the right way with the receivers that they have, they can be a team that can give you some problems. But remember what the Cowboys did to them not long ago. But again, they came back from a 33-point lead. Give them kudos for that. But Browns, Deshaun Watson, it's probably not going to be next season until you see Deshaun Watson really hit the ground running and really get back to the Deshaun Watson that we know, if he ever gets back to that guy. But it's probably not going to be until around next season when that happens. He's probably going to get better as the year, plays out. Each game he's gotten better. You remember the first game he was throwing balls into the dirt. But the Ravens, of course, are still without Lamar Jackson, who's still nursing that knee injury. The Bills over the Dolphins, 32-29. Dolphins, now it's going to get cold. We're going to really see what the Dolphins are made of. They still have that high-powered offense. The Bills found a way to get that done. Josh Allen and company, who are still vying for a top spot in the AFC, trying to get home field advantage, where everything has to go through Buffalo, and you know how tough it is to play in Buffalo, especially in December and January. But the Dolphins, we'll see, man. It's going to get cold. It's going to get real cold, and we'll see if Tua and Tyreek and that high-powered offense, we'll see what they can do when it gets cold, if they can throw that ball around the yard. I know Tua said they got cold in Alabama, but I don't know, man. Jaguars, now the Jets, the Lions are at 7-7. I like I talked about the Lions all season. Dan Campbell has those guys, and they have some weapons over there. And again, now will the Lions draft, where they draft a quarterback, they beat the Jets 20-17. Of course, the Jets are still without Mike White, who, of course, they're not going to clear the play right now because they drafted, let's keep it 100. He wasn't clear last week. He's not clear yet this week. That's all in an effort to give the number 2 pick in the draft. And I know that goes against a lot of people's thinking about the Jets and what they should be doing. They should be vying for a playoff spot and playing the person who they think gives them the best chance to make it to the playoffs. I don't really think the Jets ownership is thinking like that right now. I don't think the Jets brass is thinking like that right now. Of course, they would love to make it to the playoffs, if they could. But I don't think they see themselves as a championship. And, of course, it's always good to make it to the playoffs, not only because it's a new season like I've been talking about, but it also gives you a chance to actually, again, it's a new season and you can vie for a championship. If you make it to the playoffs, hey, any given Sunday, any team can win. Everyone starts out at 0-0. And you gain valuable experience as well moving forward for a young team with the likes of Garrett Wilson, superstar wide receiver from Ohio State, among other players. Sauce Gardner on defense, defensive line. Robert Saleh is doing a great job with the Jets. But, of course, Mike White hasn't been cleared to play because they drafted Zach Wilson number 2 overall. And, again, no matter what he's done in some of these games, I think they like what they've seen in practice. I think they like the way he throws the football. They're trying to get him right mentally, seeing the field better, assessing things better, reading coverages better. Didn't have a terrible game last game. Threw a crazy interception. But they're going to ride it out with Zach Wilson and hopefully at least find out. Remember, they already missed on the quarterback, Sam Darnold. So Mike White has not been cleared to play yet because that's the excuse for getting Zach Wilson back in the fold so they can really see if he's learned anything since they had him inactive for a few weeks. They can really see how much he's matured and how much he's learned since then, can really see about this number 2 pick that they invested so much in with this great arm talent and this great potential as far as spreading the ball around the yard. As long as you get the requisite talent around him, keep the requisite talent around him, you get him on par mentally, change his demeanor, let him see some things from the sideline. So they want to see what he's learned. Now, last game, I don't think it was as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. He didn't play perfect, especially in the second half, but he made some nice throws, some very nice throws. So I think the Jets are more willing to say, okay, let's see if Zach Wilson is our quarterback to go along with this great young nucleus, this great young team we have. They want Zach Wilson to do well. They know they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. And they don't think Mike White is their guy long term when they just drafted this guy number 2. So Mike White is not cleared again because they want Zach Wilson to play some football. You heard him when they first benched him. Our plan is to get him back in here before the season is over. So the Jets, they have a nice future, a nice bright future, and I really think they really want to give Zach Wilson every opportunity to succeed and be the guy, the franchise quarterback for their team. At least these last few games, they want to find out something. So that's why Mike White is not cleared to play right now. The Lions, 7-7, right in the playoff hunt. Jared Goff, now you wonder if they're going to draft a quarterback with their first pick, wherever they pick at. I'll talk more about the possible draft, the draft next week. I'll probably do like a mock draft, first 10 picks. I mean, I think it was Todd McShay's mock draft, Bijan Robinson going to the Eagles at number 5. Man, are you serious? If they were to pick right now, the Eagles would pick at number 5. Bijan Robinson, the best running back in the nation from Texas, going to the Eagles. I'm going to tell you right now, if Bijan Robinson goes to the Eagles, that will be illegal. That would be illegal, Skrillerilla. I mean, that's too much, man. I don't care what kind of season Miles Sanders is having. He's no Bijan Robinson. If you add Bijan Robinson to that team, that shit should be illegal. To go with Jalen Hurts, so you have 2 great running backs in the backfield who can make you miss. Oh, and one of those running backs can actually throw the football to 2 all-world wide receivers. Come on, man. That would not be fair if the Philadelphia Eagles, for them to have the number 5 pick. Of course, that's through a trade. But that would be unfair for them to get Bijan Robinson with the number 5 pick, the Philadelphia Eagles. Come on, man. I'm serious. But, I mean, wow. But the Detroit Lions are looking good with some of the players they have. You have Jameson Williams back right now, and he gives them that vertical threat. Should have had another touchdown the other day that Jared Goff didn't pull the trigger on. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, Aiden Hutchinson, nice young nucleus over there. Really believing in what Dan Campbell is selling over there. They're a team to be reckoned with moving forward. I'm telling you. But again, next week I'll kind of touch on some mock draft stuff, first 5 or 10 picks or something like that. Talk more about the upcoming Georgia Bulldogs, Ohio State game. Buckeyes better come with it. Buckeyes going to shock the world. The Buckeyes are going to shock the world. Let me see real quick before I get out of here. NFL schedule. Damn, I guess I just had one. Okay.
Lost to the Green Bay Packers 24-12. On Thursday,
But
the Jaguars will play the Jets at 7:15 p.m.
I think you had a Nets fan.
Falcons will play the Ravens.
Falcons and the Ravens. Hey, and I love the Ravens, when they get Lamar back, now they have a run game. J.K. Dobbins is looking healthy again, has ran for over 100 yards the last 2 games in Baltimore, coming back from that knee surgery, giving them what they need, a back that can control the run game. That's why they drafted him in the second round. And that's why they projected him as their franchise running back after his rookie season. But he had the terrible ACL injury. Then he had a setback with another injury as well to that knee. I don't think it had anything to do with the ACL, but he had another setback. But Seahawks at the Chiefs. I take the Chiefs in that, even though I love the way Geno Smith has been playing. I just think the Chiefs, I think they get back. The Chiefs has been kind of Chiefs are one of those teams kind of like they're starting to play like one of those teams kind of like Golden State as far as basketball. Oh, we just won the championship, even though they didn't win the championship last year. But let's just get to the playoffs. Now, Golden State, they have to worry about getting there when they get all their pieces back healthy. But regular season, we have 4 championships, Golden State. Nah, let's just get to the playoffs. But it's not going to be that simple this season as far as Golden State. But the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs carry that attitude a lot. But the Seahawks, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, them, they're playing at a high level. Geno Smith definitely may be comeback player of the year. But I don't think the Seahawks will beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. Saints and the Browns. Of course, the Saints will be looking for a new quarterback next season. That's who need a new quarterback. The Saints. Famous Jameis is not the guy. Of course, I don't think they've given him true ample opportunity when he's been healthy to really show that he's really that guy. But I mean, if you have a chance to get another franchise quarterback, if you could find a way to get up in the draft and get your franchise quarterback, whether it be C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, or Will Levis, the Saints have to do that. Bengals and the Patriots. You see that? Did you see the Patriots in that? Now that wasn't Bill Belichick's fault. That last play when they're running the ball right there. Maybe they shouldn't have ran the ball. Maybe they should have took a knee and went into overtime right there in this game this past weekend against the Raiders. And the lateral and throwing the ball back, all this craziness on the last play of the game. The players should know better than that. You can't be that dumb right there. I'm not putting that on Bill Belichick. I'm really not. Because the players should not be that dumb in a situation like that. Professional football players. It's not Little League football. What the hell is this? I mean, yeah, maybe they should have took a knee right there. But Bill Belichick didn't think they were going to do something to that level of stupidity. What is this, Pop Warner? What the hell is going on? Hell, I'm like Vince Lombardi. What the hell is going on out there? So they lose the game to the Raiders, who's trying to find some mojo. Just win, baby. With the great Al Davis, their former owner, the mantra that he stood by. Raiders at the Steelers this past weekend, going back to those glory days of the 70s. The famous Franco Harris catch to help get the Steelers rolling on their Super Bowl run in the 70s against the Raiders, when the Raiders had all those great teams back in the 70s, but Ken Stabler, Cliff Branch. Every time I just see Raiders against the Steelers, I just harken back to that. John Madden, the great Madden. Eagles and the Cowboys this week. Cowboys better get it done playing at home. I don't give a damn who's playing the quarterback for the Eagles. You better get it done this weekend. You better bring it on both sides of the ball. You better run the football efficiently with Zeke and Pollard. You better call the right plays, and the defense better tighten up. You better tighten up. And you better tighten up quick, fast, in a hurry. Speaking of tradition, Eagles and the Cowboys right there. Back in the day, Harold Carmichael, Ron Jaworski. At time when the Eagles beat my Cowboys, another time where I was pissed when the Eagles beat my Cowboys the year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. I think it was 1980 when they played the Raiders. Will Montgomery, who I thought was a damn Tony Dorsett wannabe. He was damn good, though. But I remember I used to watch him, Wilbur Montgomery, number 31, which I wore my first year playing football. 8 years old, my number was number 31. Then I wore number 33 because of Tony D. But Wilbur Montgomery, who I used to say to myself, you think he Tony D, running all over the damn field, running all over the Cowboys. Quit trying to look like Tony Dorsett. Like, who is this number 31? But they pissed me off that year, the Eagles. That game in Philly. Cowboys lost and had those blue uniforms on, those blue jerseys. It was cold out there. Cowboys kept making it to the NFC Championship game and losing. Lost that year too. That's what I'm saying, man. Cowboys fans, do not get too caught up, too invested in the Cowboys. They will break your heart. I don't do it anymore. I don't do it. They lose, I'll be like, oh well. I mean, yeah, I'll be disappointed. Yeah, I'll be disappointed for a while. But you'd be surprised. just having a hard time giving a damn these days. I really do. I really have a hard time giving a damn at the end of the day. But better come on with it with the Eagles, though. Giants and the Vikings. Hell, I'm going to take the Giants in that game. Playing at the Vikings, though. Bills and Bears. Bills, Commanders, 49ers. I'm going to go with the 49ers. Too much offensive, defense side of the ball. Commanders are a nice, gritty team. But no. Okay, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Buccaneers. I think this may be Tom Brady's last season. Tom Brady's the type, he may try to come back and play for another season. Maybe it's somewhere else where he thinks he has a better chance of winning the Super Bowl. But the Buccaneers, the Cowboys, we may have to deal with them in the first game of the season. And again, it's a new season. It's Tom Brady. I don't want to necessarily – that team just won the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. They could hit their stride. I know they're slow right now. They're not clicking on the offensive side of the ball. I just hope things don't click when they play the Cowboys, because the Cowboys seem to make a lot of teams click at the right time when it comes to the playoffs. And I just damn sure hope it's not the GOAT, the greatest of all time. But Chargers and the Colts, and hey, let me get out of here. I'll come back next week. And again, I'll talk some more NBA. I'll break down some more college football. All that. Maybe talk some college basketball as well. U of H is ranked number 1 for a while. Kudos to them. But they're always having a great team every year with Coach Calvin Sampson. So they're always in the mix doing some things over there, playing that tenacious defense, in your clothes defense. That's U of H. That's U of H. Hey, but let me get out of here. The Sports Court Roof. Hey, legends live and let live. Hey, Skrillerilla, I'm gone, man. I got to bounce, bro. I got to hit the freeway.